What drives fear? That is what I want to answer for you today. And the reason why is that four-letter word has been getting in the way of us being successful for so long. So if we understand fear, we don't have to be afraid of fear anymore. So we just wrapped up our Unleashing Your Inner CEO conference for 2024. And that was like the thing of the topic. So that's what I want to touch on, because I got so many people saying, Sherry, you touch on some nuggets that really helped me. I left that conference transformed, believing differently. And I was like, oh my goodness, if I can do it for the audience that attend, why not do it for my online audience? So you're in for a treat today as we teach you how to overcome fear so you can have the life you desire. A life full of joy and abundance. And for me, I didn't understand. I knew there were fear is there in my life. I knew that. Being in law enforcement for 10 years, and even I remember leaving college and trying to get a job. And when I left college and trying to get a job, I ended up moving back home to Titusville. And even with a bachelor's degree, because I didn't have my master's then, I could not find a job. I ended up thinking I had to take a lower tier job. And then finally, I decided that I was going to get in corrections. I was just going to get in corrections and see where it goes. One of those. But from the minute I started corrections, I was fearful. I was fearful because I had a preconceived notion of what success looked like and what I was told by my parents and the way I was raised and my culture. And then when I stepped into the space, it was completely different. It was completely different. The math was the mathing of how I was told that I was doing. I was told that I need to work hard and be the best person I can be. But what our parents sometimes don't prepare us for is jealousy, envy, and things that come up when you're trying to be ambitious. I think our parents neglected to tell us that working hard come with a target on your back. And I sometimes had that as I was growing my life in business. I sometimes had that to the point where I would shelter my gift, to the point where I didn't want to even speak in meetings because I felt as if I say something in meetings, somebody think I'm trying to outshine them. Even till this day, I have that from people who are jealous. But now I'm clear on where it comes from, but before I wasn't. So it would leave me not wanting to go back to work, not wanting to walk in my purpose. And after you're getting tired of being in this stuck place where you can't go forward in fear of retaliation, of someone looking at you different, and you can't go backwards because you're now not living in your gift. So you're just in this one spot. After a while, because you are a leader, because you're called to be who God called you to be, you start trying to figure out how to do it. You start trying to figure out where to go. How do I do this? And that's what I did. That's what I did. I started looking for a place to go to birth my gift, to speak my voice. I started looking for that place. And for me, here's a gift. Here's the thing. This is a nugget I want to leave with you really quick. When you ask God for a specific thing, you're not going to get that specific thing just show up like that. If you ask God for a car, he's not going to give you a car right in front of your face. What he will do is he will point you in the right direction of how to look for a dealership, or how someone to run your credit to make sure you have the credit score to get that loan for that car. It's never that transparent. And I hope you get this because this is so good. It's never that transparent. So when I'm in my stuck time, if I can look back, when I was stuck, I realized that when you're feeling stuck in any situation, you're going to start trying to find a way to get unstuck. And for me, finding a way to get unstuck, my gateway for that was always serving. And for me, my job was to serve at the time in corrections, the inmates that were coming into the jail. my duty was to help them to make sure they stay educated while they're there. And one of the way they stay educated is the citizens or the civilians would donate their books that they're no longer reading. And when they donate those books that they're no longer reading, guess what? My job is to search the book to make sure that it's not a hardcover book, that is the book is not being used for weapon and all sorts of jazz. And my job is to make sure there's no phone number or addresses in that book. People, when they're reading a book, they write different things inside a book, highlight different things. They don't realize what they're doing, and then donated the book. And when they donate the book, I, as the officer, has to go through the book to make sure that it was inmate friendly to give to the inmates. So one of the things that why I enjoy that job is I get to get access to books for free that I wouldn't naturally have access to, because people would donate book like Rich Dad Poor Dad book, E-Myth Method, Profit First, those type of books. And when they donated those type of books, I had the opportunity to get a hold of those type of books. And looking back now, I don't think I would have went on Amazon and just buy those books. I don't think I would just went on there and just buy them. I probably wouldn't have. So God answered me in my moment of being stuck in a book. And one particular book that he gave me the foundation of my business to get me to where I am today is a book by Dr. Miles Monroe, Maximize Your Potential. That was a book that it was all beaten up. The covers was ripped off. You could barely see the cover. It was an old book. And that's what I love about books, is because no matter how old that book is, the value within that book remains the same. The value still is relevant today. So if I was judging the book by the cover, by how ripped up it was, I wouldn't have been where I am today. Somebody needed to hear that. And somebody sometimes there's a message that is sent to you, but you're judging the messenger and you can't get the message. Whew, thank you, Jesus. So when I got the book, Dr. Miles Monroe talks about that there are two power that stop us, two fear of power that stop us. Fear of success and a fear of having success, and fear of not having success. And what was surprising to me is I know people who are in fear that this may not work. I don't know what we'll do. I don't want to be embarrassment, because I had that fear. But then he also had another fear, whereas the fear of actually being successful. And I was taken back, because what was bothering me wasn't that I may not be successful. Looking back now, what was bothering me is the fear of actually being successful. Can you maintain it? The discipline required to have that success. All of that was stopping me from actually wanting to be successful, because it comes with a discipline that you have to have, a responsibility, because when much is given, much is expected. And let me go back to say the catalyst for me recognizing what type of fear I was that book. More on that later. So as I began to read this book, I realized the only way to get out of this fear of feeling stuck, of feeling not seen, of feeling voiceless, I got to understand and truly study fear. I have to understand it and truly study for me. And when I just study fear for me and understand it for me on my wavelength, there are 3 types of fear that stood out to me. And when I discover why those fears exist, why they exist, it transformed my entire life. It transformed how I look at things. It transformed the people I'm called to serve. It transformed everything about me. I got more peaceful. I got more joyful. My business grew tremendously. My clients got served to a higher level. So that means it created a success in their business. My marriage, I ended up marrying the man of my life, of my dreams. And all of this was because doing the work and studying and understanding fear. And I'm going to share with you the same thing I shared at my last conference, because I think just like he helped them, I really think it's going to help you as well. And you can grab your diva notebook and you can grab your diamond pen. But I know some of you on the sound of my voice will not listen and apply because you're still so bombarded with fear. But there are other few of you who will take action. I can almost guarantee, not no almost, I can guarantee that if you listen to these 3 principles of overcoming fear and getting the life that you desire, it will transfer your life 10 times fold. 10 times fold. So the catalyst for me realizing the space that I'm in and how to get out was these 3 things. And so if you're taking notes, your one takeaway first was understanding that when you ask God for something, it's not going to show up, manifest exactly how you said it. So you first have to understand, walk in that spirit of awareness and understanding, God, where are you answering my problem, but I am blind to see it. God, can you open up my eyes to say, okay, you're giving me an answer, but I don't know exactly where you're answering me, so please open my eyes to see it. That's the first thing I want you to walk away with, is having the ability to get your eyes open to see the opportunity that will possess itself. And after taking action, you get what you actually desire. So let's get into the 3 ways of how to overcome fear. Knowing, you need to understand what fear is and where fear come from. It's amazing to me how people don't want to talk about fear because they just don't even want to face it. They just even don't want to have that in their life. But you have to study it. You have to understand it, right? I think our biggest challenge we have in this country, we see different culture and we don't ask, how are they like this? Why are they like this? We just make excuses. And then that's when you have the Karens in the world because they're not studying their brothers and sisters to understand their human nature of where things stem from. Because they don't want to, naturally don't want to face it. Sometimes it's going to be too hard to face if they have to face it. Let's be clear there. So I always want to see where things originated from. What is this thing? And the number one thing that I started off with is understanding fear. And fear, the first thing it does when we make a decision that we create something in our mind that we want to do, something great. We set out, we're in the shower, a great idea come to mind, and we become intentional about that idea. For in this case, you're going to host a challenge that's going to teach people something about your expertise. And when you host that challenge, oh my gosh, people are going to become more valuable than when they first came on the challenge because they're going to be more educated and more knowledgeable. And you just get excited, not even about the profit from the challenge, because you don't even know if you're going to make any money at that time. You are getting excited just from the impact. But as soon as you start getting more excited about the impact that you're going to make in teaching this person about your expertise or teaching this group of people about your expertise, fear starts setting in. Fear starts setting in. And I was writing down about this fear the other day. I was writing down about this fear the other day. And when I was writing down about this fear, I realized I heard Dr. Myron Golden says, disruption always follow intention. Disruption always follow intention. So here you are wanting to do this challenge. You want to host your own challenge where you can teach people about your amazing expertise that's going to help transform and guide their life to transformation. And here the disruption start creeping in. Here the enemy of your thoughts started creeping in. Oh, you're going to need a sales page. How are you going to get people to your challenge? All of these things start being listed of all the deliverables that you have to do. And when you start hearing all the deliverables you have to do, you just want to stop. You don't want to do it anymore. You just want to stop. You don't want to do it anymore. Because we allow all the action steps that we have to do to get in the way. All of it has to get in the way. And once we allow that, so they're now form what we call a resistance. So we now create the principle number one, a resistance. A resistance that's standing in our way because our enemy of our thoughts got into our thoughts and says, yeah, it sounds good. You're going to impact people's lives, but have you thought about all the stuff that you have to do to get it done? And therefore, as soon as you start thinking about all the things you have to do to get it done, you just don't want to do it anymore. You just want to move. You were where I was back 10 years ago in my job, just stuck because we allow the resistance to win. So you got to understand why the resistance is there. The resistance is there because the resistance automatically know and have a preconceived notion of what will happen if you execute on that thing you say that you want to do, on that event you want to host, on that seminar you want to host, on that challenge that you want to have, on that masterclass that you say you want to have. The resistance know that on the other side of you completing that task, the people who are assigned to you that only you can help, and I heard Eileen Waller said that, and I just think it's so powerful. Shout out to her. The people that are assigned to you that only you can help, the enemy of your thoughts don't want you to help them. So it's going to create a resistance. It's going to create a disruption. But the good news is, you knowing disruption follow intentions, this creates you now have a competitive advantage to understand, resistance, you're here to create a disruption. You're here to create a resistance because you are resisting me from wanting to follow through with this idea, because if I follow through with this idea, people are going to be healed. People's lives are going to be transformed. And because people's life are going to be transformed, you don't want me to do what God called me to do. When you look at that from the viewpoint of what I just said, you understand why the enemy of your thoughts is doing the work. You understand why they're there. But the beauty is, now that you understand, you have the power to execute anyway, because you know disruptions always follow intentions. It goes together. So you know that disruption is doing its job, and it's your job to do your job. And many times we don't do our job. We allow that disruption to keep us stuck, and we don't move. We open the door of disruption and allow it to come into our room. We open the door of resistance and we allow it to stop up. Soon as we go up against the obstacle, we are using that as a sign to thinking that we should not move forward, which is not the case. The next thing I want you to look at, I had to identify when we talk about how to overcome fear. I had to realize that after getting clear on why the resistance is there, I also said to myself, do I have the capability and the capacity to do the thing that this assignment calls for me to do? And even though I know the answer is yes, because I am God's masterpiece, even knowing that, I started allowing people what I call labels to be on me. I allow people to start putting labels start coming to my thoughts, right? Again, enemy of my thoughts started creeping in and saying, well, you're from Jamaica, or you have an accent, or you're a black woman, you can't do that. And all these different labels that people have put on me in my past, I started looking at them. I said, oh, I'm not qualified to do this. Oh, this is not going to happen for me. No, I shouldn't be doing this. Oh, you coming from law enforcement. You can't go into coaching women in insurance and finance and service-based business to grow their business. You can't do that. You can't 10x their business. You're coming from a different path. So again, another label. And the label got so big that we start believing the stories of these labels. And we believe in these labels out of fear, like, yeah, you're right, I can't do this. Again, enemy of your thoughts winning. So I had to go to the good old book to understand that God is always with me. God is with her. She will not fail. That understand who made me. I didn't make myself. And understand that when the idea has came to me, the resources for the idea already came. I just need to step in alignment with my belief system to figure out what opportunity I need to look for to get the thing done, and stop making the enemy of my thoughts win. So don't watch a label, but actually identify who made me, and believe in that whoever made me, whoever gave me this idea that I need to do, saw me fit enough to create the resources necessary for me to execute on whatever the thing that I'm doing. And along with that, give me the capability and the capacity to execute it, to see it all the way out to the end. When we decided to do Unleashing Your Inner CEO conference, we kept, in my mind, the enemy of my thoughts kept saying, who's going to drive to Titusville? I should have had in Orlando. And all this jazz in my head started saying, oh, people are not going to come. And we had a sold out conference. So had I allowed the labeling and the enemy of my thoughts to win, I would not be where I am. I would not have had a successful conference. So you have to understand that to stop putting a period where God has put a comma. You have to understand that. And third, after you're dealing with the resistance, you're dealing with the label. The biggest one, I think, when it comes to fear that we really need to understand is the self-sabotage. The resistance sometimes can be exterior from other people. So is the labeling. But the biggest one that stops us is self-sabotage. Our own self, our own soul, our own thoughts within us about ourselves. We are usually the worst enemy to our own self. You don't have to look outside for our enemy. Your enemy of your thoughts is what you're fighting, because your enemy of your thoughts will allow you to self-sabotage yourself. It will create this lack of confidence within you. It will make you devalue yourself just based on the words that you say to yourself about yourself. It'll create this internal trauma and create a story and a reality that is not true. So when we are looking at fear, we first have to master the first step, the way we talk to ourselves. Because once we believe in who we are, once we understand and believe in the vibration of the energy that we possess, the other two, labeling and resistance, don't have a chance in our life. The number one thing we have to understand is our own self-concept, the way we see ourselves, the way we currently see ourselves versus the way we truly are. So you have two realities working at all times. Your current situation versus the true you. So, and there's always going to be some type of gap there. There's always going to be some type of, like, you see yourself as a millionaire, but you only have $50,000 to your name, or you only have $10 to your name. So where's this millionaire that you see, and this $10, it's just not adding up, right? There's a big gap there. So when you see that gap, you start telling yourself it can happen for Sherry, it can happen for other people, but it can't happen for you. So you start thinking that's impossible to go from $10 to $1,000,000. And it's impossible from going to an apartment to owning your own place. It's impossible from working at McDonald's to be able to going back to school and getting a career job. It's impossible to work for minimum wage and then being able to be a boss of your own business. You start looking at the gaps like, man, that's too far apart. So you start telling yourself, maybe next year, next week, next month, you start talking yourself out of what you truly know that you're called to be. And we fix that. The only way to fix that is to get in vibrations, experiences, and places that breeds a higher you. The only way to fix that is asking yourself, what energy force are you putting in your brain? Are you reading books that tell you that you can maximize your potential? Are you attending conferences that brings out the value and knowledge about you being the best you can be? Are you listening to podcasts that elevate your brain and your mind? And more importantly, are you investing in yourself so you can be surrounded with community of people that when you fall, they can give you a word of wisdom? And whenever you're in a community of high value thinkers, you are automatically attract that high value thinking yourself, even if you don't want to. Even if you don't want to, you become a magnetic force. So when you do these things in controlling what comes in your ear, it started to create a high value you. Not the you that you're currently at, but you start saying, hey, I'm right here right now, but I don't see myself right here right now. So I'm going to invest in the next conference. I'm going to invest in the next a book, a mentorship. Get on Amazon to read a book. I'm going to invest in going to master classes and challenges. I am constantly a student in my space. I'm constantly going to conferences. I'm constantly hosting my own conferences. I am constantly operating a vibration that remind me every day that I am God's masterpiece and I don't have to stoop to human level. I'm constantly surrounded by things that will make me win. And when I do that, regardless of what I want to believe about myself, everything else around me says something different. So I have to believe that. Because I'm putting myself in an environment that showed me that I can be all I can be, regardless of what race or color or gender I am. I'm constantly looking at evidence in front of me that prove me whatever self-talk I'm going to tell myself that's not aligned with me. I constantly see something differently. And that's what Unleashing Your Inner CEO conference is really unleashing the inner CEO, because you are the CEO of your life. And watching speakers on stage that look like you that are already hitting 7 figures. And guess what? You can hit 7, 10, 8, 9, 90 figures and still have fear. But here's the difference. The fear that was at a 5-figure is not the same fear that has at 6-figure. It's not the same fear that has 7-figure. Each fear has a different mindset, a different belief. Each fear, each level. So that's why as you grow, you got to get in spaces that breathe that type of level to teach you, how do I control my belief system when I hit my 5 figures, when I hit my 6 figures, and I hit my 7 figures. A fear in a 5-figure level when I'm in a 7-figure level won't help me in 5-figure because I'm past that, right? Same thing for you. So don't think that fear, the goal is to hit 7-figure and be happy. No. The goal is to master your thoughts. The goal is to start with understanding how your brain thinks. And when I realized that a book has changed my way to teaching me how to maximize my potential, I teamed up with Daniel Gomez, and I'm pouring out to him about these 3 things: the resistance, the labeling, and that self-sabotage that we do when it comes to fear. And he said, you got to get that in a book. You have to get that in a book, change your life. So you got to get that in a book. And when he said that, I said, yep, that's what I'm going to do. And I create an opportunity for he and I to partner together and create this opportunity for us to have a book, an anthology book with other individuals who are teaching you how the idea, how the brain changes. Once my brain changed to learn how to realize these three things, I now can maximize my potential at a higher level. And I said, I want to get the books in your hands. The person who is listening to this right now that has been allowing fear to keep them stuck, that they know that they're called for more, but they're afraid of success. They're afraid of the responsibility that success come with. They're afraid of not being able to see the resources and opportunities because they're not looking with the right eye, right belief system. I'm talking to you right now. Yes, I'm talking to you that it's time for you to learn to move from fear to freedom, to know what it's like to stand in your potential and know what it's like where people are attracted to you versus you chasing them. So knowing this, I want to be able to have you have that weapon. That's what I call it, the weapon of fear, and grab my new book, The Brain Changer. The Brain Changer. Change your brain, change your results. I want you to be the first one to grab this book. We have a pre-launch book coming out, and you can literally just go in the description and click the link and get your book today, so when that book get delivered to you, you're ready to go. But don't delay, because we want that book to get in your hands, and we want you to grab the pre-launch of this book. So when the book is finished, you are the first one to get it. So whenever fear come up on you, you are weaponized with something in your hand saying, this is going to help me overcome this fear. I'm going to read not just my story, but other successful people in the book stories of the one idea. When did their brain change? And I think it's just powerful because sometimes we forget. And we want to be reminded as I get more successful. Sometimes when I was writing my chapter of that book, I said, when did this change for me? And I want to dive deeper with you. So the more you understand fear, the more you realize how to handle fear when fear come up on you. Because that is what's stopping a lot of people right now from living in their best life. They don't know how to handle fear. And I want to give you something to help you overcome the fear of resistance, the fear of labeling, and definitely the fear of sabotage. So make sure you don't delay. Grab this book today. Your soul is dependent on it. All right? Talk to you soon.